After unloading the fruit, handed over the night progressed, and a truck from Woolworths or Kohl's pulled up. I could never remember which one it was. The driver, after unloading the fruit, handed over another thick envelope to the Don. It seemed like the sort of payout that Brady had received earlier. I tried to make myself useful, hoping to regain some favor after my recent blunder with the cocaine theft. But the Don's indifferent attitude made it clear that my previous mistake still hung heavily in the air. Some in the crew were less forgiving, openly suggesting that I deserved severe punishment for my actions. Their words echoed the harsh reality of our world. Age was no shield against retribution in the mob. I was treading on thin ice, and I knew it. Later, in the Don's office, I sat watching an old TV show, trying to distract myself from the palpable tension. Suddenly, a man who looked like a police officer walked in. He sat down and began discussing the crew's dynamics, his words laced with an air of authority and nonchalance. He laughed off the notion of any real trouble, but his confidence seemed out of place, almost forced. Amidst this discussion, I was suddenly asked what I wanted to do. You can do anything. I know what I've done. Decision. I could have done anything. The question took me by surprise. Here I was, given a rare chance to express my wishes, to make a mark. I scanned the room, my gaze landing on 3 cups and glasses sitting precariously on the edge of a bench. Seized by a mixture of anxiety and a strange desire to assert my presence, I jumped onto the bench and began kicking the cups and glasses to the floor. The sound of shattering glass echoed through the room, mirroring the chaos and confusion in my mind. It was a small act of rebellion, yet it felt significant, cathartic. The Raiders capped. I approached, trying to shove a dummy into my mouth, a humiliating ritual I had always detested. I spat at OU defiantly, my action triggering raucous laughter from the crew. As I spit the dummy. But my moment of defiance was quickly overshadowed by pain. I had forgotten about the broken glass on the floor. As I stepped down from the bench, shards of glass pierced my feet, a sharp reminder of the harsh reality of our world. The man who looked like a police officer rushed to my aid, carefully removing the glass. His unexpected in such a thing, questioning the true nature of loyalty and betrayal in our twisted world. As days blended into nights, and nights into more days, I continued to navigate this perilous path, each step teaching me harsh lessons about survival, allegiance, and the intricate dance of power in the shadows of the criminal underworld. As I delved deeper into the labyrinth of the underworld, my path became intertwined with shadows and secrets. The journey began with the unexpected bequest of a fruit and vegetable market, a symbolic reward for my toils. Childhood memories adorned the market as my personal fiefdom, though it was my family who diligently managed its affairs. Navigating the bustling exchange of goods, my imagination spun tales of authority, unwittingly ensnaring me in the labyrinth of adult machinations. Amidst this charade, I even extended loans, oblivious to the ramifications. Beneath the veneer of innocence, turmoil brewed. Driven by ambition, I relentlessly pursued advancement within the organization, eager to validate my worth. Yet, whispers of a troublesome figure circulated, casting a pall over my aspirations. When the notion of removing this obstacle emerged, my initial fervor transmuted into a consuming fixation, impeding my path forward. The pursuit of power within the mafia's hierarchy had become my sole fixation. In a trance-like state, my gaze fixated on a toy displayed upon the neighboring store's table, beckoning me with its allure. Desires stirred within me, prompting thoughts of acquisition by any means necessary. As I reached out to claim the coveted prize, the store's owner, Don Swan, swiftly pivoted, discerning my intentions before I could act. I confessed my intent, met with a stern admonition from the wise elder. His words echoed with wisdom, urging me to recognize the resilience and ingenuity of those often marginalized. In that moment, I gained a newfound respect for the tenacity of those who dared to defy the odds. Chapter 6. When faced with the choice of 2 weapons, choose the one that aligns with your conscience. In my quest to establish myself within the underworld, I sought to ascend as a respected member. I was prepared to execute the perfect crime, eager to prove my worth. As we gathered, shrouded in darkness, discussions veered towards a troublesome individual. Without hesitation, I volunteered. I'll handle it, I asserted confidently, convinced that my youth would shield me from severe consequences. They questioned my resolve, doubting my sincerity. But to me, it seemed simple, just a matter of aiming, pulling the trigger, and disposing of the evidence. We ventured to the Kingswood car, the vehicle of choice for our clandestine operation. Nightfall enveloped us as we made our way. Sensing a need to inform my mother of my whereabouts, I insisted on stopping by my house. Despite their reluctance, I was adamant about disclosing my plans to her. With a dismissive attitude, they acquiesced, driving me straight home. Entering through the rear, I sought out my mother, determined to share my intentions. Her reaction was one of horror and disbelief, but I could sense she didn't fully grasp the gravity of the situation. Despite her disapproval, I persisted, expressing my determination. She relegated me to my room, hoping to dissuade me from my dangerous path. Alone in my chamber, I contemplated my next move. Ignoring my mother's pleas, I slipped out through the back door, rejoining my companions in the waiting vehicle. I approached the Kingswood car and jumping into it. Welcome, my friend. I hope you understand the gravity of the path you're about to tread upon. The world of rent-to-kill murder is not for the faint-hearted. So, let me make it abundantly clear. You are aware that you are willingly stepping into the realm of heinous murder, with vicious intent, specializing in contract killings. This is not a game, but a life-altering decision. Are you prepared to embrace this dark journey, where death lurks around every corner? As we hit the road, the engine roared to life, drowning out the distant hum of the city. The night air was thick with anticipation, and as the first chords of "Dirty Deeds Done Dirt Cheap" blasted through the speakers, it felt like a call to action. Cruel and evil, my companions for the night, exchanged knowing glances as the lyrics echoed through the car. You're doing a dirty deed, and you're doing it dirt cheap, they sang along, their voices tinged with a hint of mischief. The tape kept rolling, seamlessly transitioning to Highway to Hell by AC/DC. You're on a highway to hell, aren't you? Cruel chuckled, a devilish grin spreading across their face. It was as if the music itself was narrating our journey, each song a soundtrack to the adventures that lay ahead. As we cruised down the highway, the night enveloped us in its dark embrace. The faint glow of streetlights flickered past, casting eerie shadows on the deserted road. In the dim light of the car. And then, as if on cue, the air was filled with the pungent aroma of weed mingled with the sharp tang of cocaine. We leaned back in our seats, the haze of smoke swirling around us like a cloak of secrecy. In that moment, the Kingswood became more than just a mode of transportation. It was a vessel hurtling us toward our own brand of reckoning, our own version of hell on wheels. We got to the Mark's house, was given an initiation and a choice of guns present to me. Initiate. Initiate. So, this is it. The moment where I take my initiation into this cruel world of darkness, where evil and good intertwine. The name they gave me is a mere label, but it carries with it a weight of responsibility and power. As I stood there, surrounded by the shadows of the underworld, I couldn't help but feel a rush of adrenaline coursing through my veins. Boss, welcome, initiate. Today, you stand at the crossroads of your destiny. In this path of darkness, you must choose your weapon, for it will become an extension of your very being. Here, I present to you 2 guns, both forged in the fires of chaos and destruction. One represents the cruelty that resides within you, capable of inflicting unimaginable pain. The other symbolizes the flicker of goodness that still exists, a glimmer of hope amidst the shadows. Initiate, it's a difficult choice. Each gun whispers its own temptation, promising power and control. But something inside me hesitates. The paranoia creeps in, making me question my own motives and the loyalty of those around me. Boss, the House of Light. A proverb from the depths of Lucifer's realm. Luci ombra danzano insieme, as they say in Italian. Light and shadow dance together, entwined in an eternal embrace. It reminds us that within darkness, there is always a flicker of light, and within light, there is always a trace of darkness. Initiate, I will take them both, boss. Unarmed, they will serve as a constant reminder of the duality within me. An embodiment of the paranoia that gnaws at my core. For in this world of treachery, I must rely on my instincts and intuition to survive. Boss, wise choice, initiate. Remember, the path you've chosen is treacherous, but it is in your hands to navigate through it. Trust no one, but most importantly, trust yourself. Now, let the journey through the Valley of Shadows begin. In the shadowy depths of the underworld, where murky deals are brokered and shady figures lurk, I found myself faced with a choice. They said I couldn't pick both guns, but the weight of their disapproval made me almost cry. It was as if they were daring me to defy them, pushing me to the brink until I couldn't take it anymore. I think they wanted to see me spit the dummy, to break under their pressure. Before stepping out of the car, one of them reached over and forcibly removed my shoes, muttering something about sound. I wanted to argue, to leave them on, but there was no point. So, reluctantly, I complied and ran past the 3 figures to the front door, knocking hesitantly. As soon as the sound echoed through the air, I felt a surge of fear and uncertainty. He said something to me, words that slipped from my mind like water through a sieve. All I could think of was the cruelty and evil lurking within them, urging me to do their bidding. Do you want me to shoot you? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Or should I shoot them? Without waiting for a response, I stepped back, raising the weapon in trembling hands. The rain poured down, a symphony of chaos surrounding us. I aimed for the corner of the driver's seat, where Good sat, a pawn in their twisted game. You're fuck when you're finished with them, he warned, a smirk playing on his lips. And in that moment, I realized the truth, I couldn't trust anyone. With a heavy heart and shaking hands, I turned and ran back towards the car. The air was thick with tension, the sound of gunfire echoing in the night. I couldn't tell which direction the shots went to, but I knew one thing for certain, they were coming for me. I responded in kind, 2 shots ringing out into the darkness. And then, silence. I fled into the woods, the Kings at my back, urging me onward. Do you always run in cars you shoot at? They taunted, their voices dripping with mockery. I knew what I had to do. With a sense of grim determination, I raised the gun, aiming at a 35-degree angle towards the first figure in the back passenger seat. The shot rang out, followed by another as I took aim at the second figure in the front passenger seat. In that moment, I embraced the darkness within me, knowing that in this unforgiving world, survival meant becoming the monster they had always feared, in the eerie darkness of the underworld. Silence hung heavy in the air as Mr. Good, the lone survivor despite taking 3 shots to the corner of the windshield, sat quietly in the car. I held both guns, a silent warning of the dangers lurking in the shadows. His fear was palpable, begging for words to break the tension. With a steady voice, I broke the stillness, offering him one of the guns. His eyes widened in surprise, unsure of my intentions. But in the underworld, trust is a fragile currency, and sometimes you gotta show your hand to keep the peace. He hesitated for a moment, the weight of my gesture sinking in, before finally accepting the weapon. As the engine roared to life, I settled back into the passenger seat, eyes scanning the darkness beyond. We were heading home, back to Burr, but the memory of the market hung heavy in my mind. It was there, amidst the chaos and whispered deals, that I had been given these tools of survival. In the world we navigate, where betrayal lurks in every shadow and danger prowls in the night, there's an old Italian proverb that rings true. Giving a gun to a friend is like giving them part of your soul. And in this twisted dance of loyalty and deceit, sometimes it's the only currency we have. Chapter 7. Shadows of the Market. As I stood across the road from the bustling market I once owned, a sense of eerie nostalgia washed over me. The words of an old Italian proverb echoed in my mind, Kai ha un bambino in mano ha un tesoro in cur. Kaiha una granada in manoha on peso di ferro. Whoever has a child in their hand has a treasure in their heart. Whoever has a grenade in their hand has a piece of iron. The market, once my pride and joy, now felt like a distant memory tainted by shadows of mistrust and betrayal. It started innocently enough, with the disappearance of burger lollies, a trivial matter at first glance. People would offer them to me, thinking nothing of it, and I, in turn, would indulge without a second thought, not thinking I'm getting set up. But soon, boxes began to vanish. I was eating one at a time, not boxes, and fingers started pointing in my direction. And I was sick of them burger lollies. They developed an off-taste. This was way before boxes of them started going missing. The blame fell squarely on my shoulders, as I was often seen with the coveted treats. The Don, once a mentor and confidant, now regarded me with suspicion, his trust eroded by the whispers of deception. The once thriving market became a battleground, each missing box a casualty in the war of loyalty and deceit. Standing on the opposite side of the road, I couldn't shake the feeling of being a stranger in my own domain. The familiar sights and sounds held no comfort, only a haunting reminder of what once was. It was as if I was seeing my business for the first time, stripped of its facade of success and prosperity. In that moment of clarity, I realized the true cost of my actions. The lollies, once a harmless indulgence, had become the catalyst for my downfall. As I reflected on my losses, I couldn't help but wonder if it was all worth it. Did the fleeting pleasures of indulgence outweigh the price of betrayal? Lost in my thoughts, I found myself longing for simpler times, when the market was more than just a battlefield of greed and mistrust. But as I turned away, leaving behind the shadows. As I sat at home, lost in my thoughts, the unexpected visit from one of my mother's friends shattered the fragile peace I had managed to find. They came bearing an invitation, a tempting offer to return to the market and see how it had fared in my absence. But deep down, I knew it was a setup, a ploy to lure me back into the web of deceit and betrayal. Despite my reservations, I found myself agreeing to go, swayed by nostalgia and a glimmer of hope for redemption. We set off in a Tarago van, the familiar streets passing by in a blur as we made our way to the once familiar territory of my old shop. Arriving at the market, I was met with a scene of chaos and tension. The once vibrant stalls lay dormant, shrouded in an air of uncertainty. People gathered in clusters, murmuring amongst themselves as I made my way through the crowd. Sitting behind a makeshift desk, a figure loomed, his presence commanding the attention of those around him. It was clear that he held sway over the fate of the market, his word law in this realm of shadows and whispers. As I approached, emotions ran high. Some congratulated me on my return, while others hurled insults and accusations, their words stinging like daggers. But amidst the chaos, one gesture caught my eye, a man, lurking in the shadows, passing something to me. In that split second, time seemed to stand still. The object in my hand felt heavy, ominous, its weight bearing down on me like a burden too heavy to bear. It was then that I realized the gravity of the situation, a loaded grenade, poised to unleash chaos upon us all. Instinct took over as I lunged forward, tossing the grenade under the desk where the figure sat. Panic ensued as he scrambled to safety, the explosive device landing with a thud that reverberated through the air. But in the midst of the chaos, a startling realization dawned upon me, the man behind the desk is the underboss. In a much larger game, a game of power and manipulation,